Dividing fractions with number chips. This is a digital lesson, and it starts with the instructions on how to use the keep, change, flip method. If you want to start with using models, I have another lesson on dividing fractions with models. But this is a method that called the keep, change, flip. So when we're dividing fractions, we keep the first fraction the same, change division to multiplication, and then flip that second fraction. So instead of 5/2, it's now going to be 2/5. Then you can multiply straight across to get your solution. Here's another example. This is method number 1, keep, change, flip, where you just multiply straight across and then simplify. So that's one way to do it. Slide 4 shows that same problem, and this time we are dividing out common factors from the numerator and the denominator. So I can divide out a 5 before I multiply. Divide a 5 out of the numerator, divide a 5 out of the denominator, and I get 1 times 3 and then 7 times 1. So that keeps you from having large numbers that you have to simplify. So the two methods on slide 3 and slide 4. Students are going to start on slide 5. Now they're going to be using these number chips, and they're going to be moving them into the correct place to do their division. So 1/2 divided by 3/5. I'm going to keep the first fraction the same, so they're going to move the 1. They just click and hold on the edge, and then they can move those numbers where they want. Change the division to multiplication. Flip the second fraction. And then multiply straight across, and they get 5/6. So this is a pretty simple example. The next slide has 2 more examples. And then it explains how to simplify before they multiply so you don't get those large numbers. So on slide 8, there's 2 different ways the students could do this. And in the teacher key, I've showed both methods. So here, 3/1 divided by 9/2. So we're going to keep that first fraction. So I'm going to click on the 3 and then a 1. Change your division to multiplication. Flip the second fraction. Now it's 2/9. Now, if the students are comfortable with simplifying before they multiply, you can see that there's a 3 in the numerator, a 9 in the denominator. So I could divide out a common factor of 3. So here I'm just going to move this bar, just click and hold on it, cross out the 3, and cross out the 9. And then I've got the little numbers I can put in place. So if I divide a 3 divided by 3, that gives me 1. So I'm going to move this little 1 here. 9 divided by 3 is 3, so I'm going to move the 3 here. Now, if you simplify before you multiply, you won't need to use these 2 chips. You're just going to multiply straight across to get your answer. And I need to find a 2. There's a 2. 1 times 2, and 1 times 3. And we get the answer of 2/3. Now, if the students aren't comfortable with this method, they can always multiply straight across and then simplify. So if they did that, and whatever method the students are comfortable with, then we would get, multiplying straight across, we would get 6/9, and then we would have to simplify to get our answer of 2/3. So if they want to simplify before they multiply, they can use these slash marks and these numbers. If they simplify before they multiply, they won't need to use these 2 chips. So they've got a couple of those to practice. Same thing on the next slide. They can use either method. They can simplify before they multiply, or they can multiply straight across and then simplify. So several practice problems. When they get down to the last slide, then they've got some sentence frames. So they're going to move these words into the correct place in the sentence frame. To divide fractions, so I'm going to click and hold on the edge of the word divide. we're going to keep the first fraction. Just a review of everything they've just done. Change the sign to multiplication, and then take the reciprocal. So it's good to introduce that word, reciprocal, of the second fraction. Multiply straight across, and then simplify your answer. If your result is a fraction greater than 1, then you want to change it to a mixed number. And there's an example of one of those problems also. Slide 10 has changing it's not improper fraction, it's a fraction greater than 1, and change it to a mixed number. So that is the lesson on dividing fractions with number chips.